Mac Girl Magic Live is live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our second installment of Mac Girl Magic Live. And this is a live stream, folks. Yeah, we're being recorded, but more about that later. But this is a live stream episode, our second episode. Yeah, it's not a TV show, I know, but we're calling it episodes for now till we find a better name. But this is the second time we're doing a Mac Girl Magic Live. It's a production of the ICHS Alumni Association's Jamaica chapter, the Big Sister program to be exact. And this is the second time we're doing this, and we're super excited. Well, first of all, my name is Carrie Ann Stimson. I am an alum of the great Immaculate Conception High School, and I'm very happy to be hosting this second installment of Mac Girl Magic Live. Not only am I an alum, I'm also a member of the ICHS Alumni Program. And I'm actually the Big Sister officer. So the Big Sister program is something that is a part of how I give back to my high school. And I'm very happy to be hosting this second installment of Mac Girl Magic Live. And what is Mac Girl Magic Live? Mac Girl Magic Live, again, is an opportunity for us as alums to share and reach out to the current students of Immaculate Conception High School. So if you are a student, current student, or an alum of the great Immaculate Conception High School, home of phenomenal women, you are in the right place, because we're going to be dropping some awesome gems here today. In our first installment, which was maybe about in December, I think, we spoke about goal setting. We had the wonderful Simone Clark Cooper, who is not only a beloved Jamaican media personality, but she's also an ICHS alum. She was here talking about how to set and achieve your goals and dreams. And this episode, which I know it's going to be in demand because we're going to be getting down to the whole matter of studying, right? Yeah, if you're a student in this life, and most of us actually are probably students our entire lives, right? Even whether you're a full-time student or not, studying is a part of what we have to do. Everybody wants to get good grades, and guess what? There is a way to study effectively, right? And it doesn't have to be as painful or as dreadful as you think it is. And this is going to be a great conversation because we have another wonderful ICHS alum who is going to be here. She is here. She's backstage. I'm going to bring her up in the virtual studio shortly. But she's going to be sharing how you, as a student, can study smarter. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to study harder. So you want to be part of this conversation. If you are joining us live here now, please drop a comment and say hi. Give us your name, tell us where you're watching us from, tell us what ICHS house you are in or were in if you're an alum. Big up to all of the Rosalima people. I'm just saying, don't worry about it. We're gonna get some other people, but drop your name, drop your house that you're in, say hi, tell us where you're watching us from. And again, this is a live conversation. Drop your hello in the comments in the live chat, but also please at the same time drop your questions in there as well, because we're going to have an opportunity to do a Q&A in the live. And if you're watching us on the replay, not a problem, break out the popcorn same way and take in the gems, because it's going to be a great conversation. So thanks so much. But before we introduce our awesome guest for this evening, we are going to be having a co-host join me. Yay! And I mean, what's a conversation about studying, speaking to Immaculate High students without an Immaculate High student, a current Immaculate High student? And I have a wonderful co-host here. She was recently crowned Miss Immaculate, because we just had the competition the other day. She was recently crowned. And let me tell you guys, she's such a wonderful person. And the very first time that I met her, I mispronounced her name, and I keep mispronouncing her name. So I'm not even going to embarrass myself for what is probably going to be the 10th time. So I'm going to bring her up on the screen. She's going to say hi. She's going to be co-hosting here with me this evening, or whatever time it is you're watching. And here she is. Let me just add her to the screen. Hey.
Hello.
How
Good
are
evening.
you?
I'm good, thanks. How are
So,
you?
so you're gonna help us now. Tell us how you pronounce your first name.
My name is Saray.
Saray. Saray. What does Saray mean, actually?
It means princess.
Oh, great, great. That's awesome. So it's like Sarah, kind of
Yes.
like a derivative, yeah. Because I have a daughter who is Sarah, and it's a similar meaning as well. Awesome. Hey, who is that? Shantia. Hey, welcome, welcome. Loving the blue hearts. Loving the blue hearts. Guys, if you have any friends, any of your fellow Immaculate students, tell them to put down them book. Yeah, I know it's homework time, and probably that's not the best advice, but this is a productive conversation. So tell them to join, tell them to come in. We're here. We're going to be here for about another hour and change, talking about how to study smarter, not harder. Okay, guys. And of course, I have our wonderful guest up on the screen. She is the guest, she's the one with the nuggets. So we're just going to be asking questions. Lisa is going to be the one with the nuggets, and she is Lisa McLean. Lisa is also a wonderful ICHS alum. Woohoo! Hey, Karen, welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, Karen, Rosalima is the best host. Ha! Shh. Lisa, what house you are in?
We need some Guadalupeans in the house. This is not okay. This pink spirit is not working.
I'm just saying, you are what, tech?
So I'm mixing up prep and high school, right? So I went to Immaculate
Oh,
Prep.
right.
I was
Yes, you
an Immaculate student all the way through. So
went
Immaculate Prep
right.
was Guadalupe, Immaculate High Tech, Red House for both.
I'm in tech
There
right
you
now.
Oh
go.
no, I'm surrounded, people. Come, okay. So Karen, me and you, Romans of Lima. I have two texts on the live with me. So guys, drop your name, drop what house you're in, because we're building a vibe here. But at the end of the day, we know it's Pink House, but it's all good. We welcome everybody because it's immaculate. Is what unites us, right? So yeah, so we're gonna have a great conversation, guys, talking about how to study smarter, not harder. And yes, if you're a student, you have exams coming up, you're probably sweating bullets, or even if you're not sweating bullets, you're kind of unsure how you can up your study game. This is a conversation for you. So WhatsApp, call, DM your sister in them, tell them to come in and join. Here's a live chat. We're taking questions. Hey, Natanya. Francisca in the house. Yeah, don't worry, we don't worry about spelling. We get Teka with her. Hey, Kimberly. Oops, okay. We got two devices. Okay, great. All right, wonderful. Hey, Kimberly, Teka with the in the house. Okay, yeah, best house. Okay, all right. We'll humor you guys. Hey, Gay, what's up, Gay Leon? Yes, I am here. I'm here. Gay, tell me you're an Immaculate alum. Hey, what's up, Marche? Davidica. Oh gosh, Davidica has entered the chat. All right. Okay. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love this spirit. I love this spirit. Welcome, welcome. So yes, so we are going to have a wonderful conversation. I've introduced our guest, Lisa. Lisa, tell us what you do.
So I am an educator. I've been an educator for almost my entire life. It is my passion, and I've taught at many different levels. So my experience, wow, ranges from kindergarten all the way up to high school, ranges across different disciplines. I really am primarily an early childhood and a math specialist. Those are my two core areas. But I write children's books, and so of course that has birthed its own passion in teaching writing, and getting kids to really see the beauty of writing and enjoying writing. My other hat that I wear is as a mom. So my son graduated from university last year. And so when I jump into this conversation, not just about studying, but anything that actually has to do with education, I'm looking at it through two lenses. So I'm looking at what I've seen in the classroom with children of all ages and genders, but also looking at it from the perspective of a mom. So being able to hear that conversation at home about what works and seeing what is happening on that end with kids and how they struggle with activities and just balancing that kind of time. So hopefully my insight will be a little bit more useful just because of that multiple perspective.
Great. And I will admit too, guys, so a couple of secrets. So we're not, Lisa and I not telling what year we graduate from
No, we're
Immaculate. We're
not.
not doing that. No, we're not. No, we're not. We look good. We look good for our age. We'll leave it at that. But Lisa and I were in the same class at Immaculate. And yes, she used to help me with my math homework and so on. So she is a math whiz and she's a great teacher. And she really has a lot of great nuggets to drop. And Saray is the current newly crowned Miss Immaculate, who's going to be co-hosting with me here. I am Rose of Lima. Lisa and Saray are Tekawithans, but it's all good. We're still dominating. I see Franciscans. Deborah, what house are you in at Immaculate? I see Franciscans. I see Davidicans in the chat. I see more Tekawithans. So drop your name, drop your house. Guys, if you're an ICHS student, call, WhatsApp, DM, tell them to come watch this right now because we are talking about how to study smarter, not harder. And I think we've spent quite a bit of time doing the introductions. We've waited a little bit for some folks to join us. We are recording this conversation. So if you didn't catch everything, it's going to be up on the ICHS Alumni 876 YouTube channel. So you can watch the replay, you can share it. And again, we'll be here for another hour. So tell your sister to rope in and join the conversation. Yes, Deborah, Davidicans in the house. Hey, what's going on? We need some Joan of Arc and St. Clair. Come on, people, bring them in. It's wonderful. So let's go. Let's go. So first of all, Lisa, thanks again so much for being a part of this conversation, for leading us here today. And I thought it would be good. I like to, when I have these conversations, I like to start off with a nice level setting question. And it may sound kind of cliche, but would you say that there is an actual definition for studying, or what studying is, or what we think it is, if it is that, if it is it not that? How do you define studying in a productive kind of way from where you sit as a teacher?
And so, I mean, I will start off by defining it. And I want to kind of jump into and segue from that into just even talking about the why behind it and kind of placing it in a broader context, which I think is really, really important. So before I even do that, I mean, basically when we talk about studying, it's just kind of having some system that you're using that helps you to review and synthesize is the word I'm looking for. Review and synthesize what you're covering in school, right? And of course, as with anything, it's very personal, you know, how you learn best, what your schedule looks like. But the idea is to be able to keep building on what you've covered and, you know, using a system that works with your schedule so that you're not cramming at the end of the day, because it's just not useful. That's just not a useful method. Now, I actually do offer a study skills workshop. Kerry, you know this because your daughter both of your girls have taken it. And before I even start a conversation on studying, what I like to throw out to students is, well, why are we studying? Right? Because I mean, yes, you're studying because you want to pass the test. I'm not talking about the kind of immediate goal, that immediate, oh, I have CSEC exams, or I have a CAPE exam, or I have SATs. But in the bigger scheme of things, what is your big overarching goal, right? There is something that you're trying to achieve. There is some huge and amazing task you've set for yourself, whether it's you want to pursue a particular career, whether it's you want to go to some dream university that you've been thinking about from you were 10, whether it is that you want to have a lifestyle that affords you a great deal of autonomy and choice, right? In this idea of this big goal that you're trying to achieve, there are different paths you can take. And of course, the easiest path is to just try and be successful at every step. So the whole purpose of having this conversation of studying is to give you an easier path to follow to get to whatever that big dream is. And the easier path is if you can master this stage, if you can study and do well with your academics, then it opens so many more doors for you after graduation. If you can study and do well, it opens the doors to a range of universities, a range of studying options, a range of internships. It's not the only route, it just makes it a little easier. So I just want you to keep in mind that when we're having this conversation about studying, It's to give you the opportunity to reach your goals in the easiest possible fashion. I don't know about you, studying is not my favorite thing to do. It is not exactly the best use of my time. There's so many other things that I prefer to have done when I was a student, and I still study periodically. And so even now, I mean, our lives are full, right? So the thought of giving up 2, 3 hours a week to just reviewing content that you covered a month ago does not really sound exciting. So you have to put it in the context of a huge dream that you're pursuing. And if you can keep your eyes on the dream, then yes, the studying will make sense and it will be bearable, because you'll be like, yep, got it. This is just another way to get there. So I like to start there. Keep your dreams
Thanks.
in mind, but then let's talk about how to be efficient with how we use our study time, because you have things to do and we don't want to be, we need balance. So we need an effective way of apportioning your time so that it's not tedious, it's useful.
Got you. And I think that's a great way to start, because it's important to recognize, yeah, it's part of life. We have to do it. It's part of how we get the grades we want to get where we want to go. It may not be the more or most favorite activity in the world, but there is a way to do it more efficiently and more effectively. And that's why we're having this conversation here. Um,
I
Over
agree.
to you.
Yes,
Question, yeah, you can take the next question.
Has the act of studying changed over the years, in your opinion?
I think yes and no. I mean, a lot of the strategies that I will teach my students are pretty much very similar to what I would have used in school. So the idea of having, a study schedule, say if you give yourself a structure to work with, what I think has changed is our understanding of why it works. We've learned a little bit more about neuroplasticity, the fact that the brain changes based on the stimuli that it's exposed to. And so if you, and it's a premise behind why the early childhood years are so important, because there's this rapid growth. There's also that really rapid growth during your teen years as well. So your brain is making a lot more connections. And so it's a really good time to review regularly, pick up new things to learn. Like you actually can. There was an interesting BBC report on this a couple of years ago, that you can actually increase your IQ levels in those teen years if you're very purposeful about how you're using your time. The concept of neuroplasticity as well is really applicable when you consider just learning new things, recovering from any kind of traumatic brain injury. The idea is that the brain continues to grow and make neural connections, right? So because we know that the brain continues to develop and grow, you use it or you lose it. If you're continually studying, continually learning new material, those connections remain. And those are the connections that help to reinforce memory and understanding. The other thing we know too is that there's an interesting practice coming out in education these days referred to as retrieval practice. And the idea is that you constantly loop back. So you learn something this week, you want to return to it in a week, you want to return to it 2 weeks from now, you want to return to it 3 weeks from now. But by continuously returning to that information, it stays current. Because what the brain does is it functions like a pathway through a grassy field. If you keep walking along the same path, you create, the grass separates, right? It dies in that path and you create a path. But if you stop using it, the grass grows back. And so what we know is you have to continually use information, revisit information to build that long-term memory and to keep those synapses speaking to those neural connections speaking to each other. So what we do know is why it works, as opposed to, I feel like a lot of the strategies are very similar to what I used to use. Maybe the only thing that's different is that you have so many really interesting apps now. So if you are really into index cards, then of course you have an app for that. You have Quizlet, quizzes. You can share them with your friends. You can create your own set of quizzes and Quizlets and share with each other. So you have different ways of reviewing and helping each other study.
That was interesting. I've always been interested in the act of, IQ improvement. And Thank you for letting me know, and I love the analogy that you gave. So, passing on to Karen. That's my question.
I
You're
think you're
muted.
muted, Carrie.
That happens to me all the time. I forget I'm muted and then I'm chatting away and nobody's hearing me. Thanks to everybody who has joined us. Yes, guys, if you're joining us, please drop your name and your ICHS house in the chat. We're happy to have you. Call, DM, tell your sister and your friends to come and join this conversation. We're talking about how to study smarter, not harder. And we have Lisa McLean joining us as our featured guest. She's an educator and author and actually runs a workshop on this, so she knows her stuff. I can vouch for that. So, having a great conversation. So, Lisa, my next question is this. I've always heard that people say that different people study differently, right? Maybe what works for me won't work for Saray, won't work for Lisa, won't work, for somebody else. Do you agree with that school of thought, first of all, that different people study differently? And, if so, how do I kind of know what approach works for me? Because sometimes I feel like I'm just out there swimming and I don't know how to know what's the most effective way to study based on how I digest information. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So I think the differences are going to pertain to environment more than actual strategy. The core strategies are the same. So this idea of reviewing once you've covered material, pulling out your main points, and then having a system where you're continuously reviewing those main points all the time. That's not going to change, right? So those core strategies will work across what we call multiple intelligences or just the environment that you prefer to study in. What I find differs is whether persons need a little bit of background noise or if they need complete silence, whether they can study in blocks of time versus they have to study in 15-minute intervals. So it's really more the how, the environment that changes. So again, length of time for studying, whether you need noise or quiet. And the other thing that tends to make a difference as well is time of day. So whether you work really well in the morning, so if that is when you have the most energy and you're the most alert versus studying late at night. So it's more environment, I find, than anything else. But good, solid techniques are going to work across the board.
Okay. And so I appreciate that. So it's the techniques are pretty much consistent, but maybe you make some, as you say, environmental changes.
Yeah.
Like I know I need total silence. Some people not so much. As you said, time of day. Some people prefer very early in the morning. Some are good with late at night. How do I know what works for me though? I mean, how do you suggest someone if they're not quite clear yet on what works for them? How do they find that out?
I've never spoken to a child who doesn't know. I've never spoken to a student who cannot answer that question. So we know intuitively what works for us because you're probably doing it anyway, for the most part, or you kind of have a sense, especially if you're a younger child and your parents are very rigid about your routine, you kind of have a sense of whether it works for you or not. Older students who have a little bit more flexibility in how they organize their time will probably get to that answer faster. But I think we know intuitively. Certainly, I mean, when I think about when my son was younger, it was just something that he settled into automatically. You just knew he'd come home. He had to have a little bit of time to just kind of de-stress, play, unwind, have a snack, have a nap, and then he would study into the evenings. And I found, and I guess it depends on your relationship too. It was something that he was very vocal about and we could talk about. And that didn't really change much over the years, when he was heading through high school and into university. So I think intuitively. If someone asks you the question and you can't answer it, you can find a simple checklist. There are lots of easy checklists online. In fact, there's one that I use, and I actually did. I didn't even have to make this one up. But if you get a checklist, and once it gives you the options, I don't know if you can see it. It'll give you options. I know you told me to project it, Carrie.
No, no, no. As I was saying, if you wanted to, you could, but it's
But
okay.
there are checklists. There are checklists that will, you'll do a study inventory. And once it gives you the options, like it'll say what type of study environment, and it'll give you quiet music, whatever. Once you see the options, you'll know automatically which one works for you. Yeah.
All righty. Cool. Cool. Thank you. It's interesting that you said that you've never met somebody who doesn't know. That's interesting because I don't know why I thought maybe it's the techniques. I don't know because I felt like the older I got, the better I got at understanding what was the most optimal way for me to study. But yeah, yeah, that's good
I
to know.
find this generation of students
Mm-hmm.
are a little bit more in tune and
Mm.
what works for them and more self-aware. And some of that just might have to be it's they have access to so much more information because of technology. Parenting styles have changed. So parents interact with children more. They have these conversations. They talk about it. So life isn't that rigid, and parents are open to working with kids to see what works. I just find that this is a generation that's more vocal and more self-aware than we were. And so we probably wouldn't even talk about it because you wouldn't even question it. It just wouldn't be an option. This is when you're studying. It's probably what we had to work with.
Yeah, Surrey is probably like, yeah, I know what works for me. I'm there. I'm in grade 12. I got my thing going on.
Well, let's ask Saray. Saray, can you answer that question? Like, do you know how you study best? Do you prefer music, quiet, a bit of both?
I think it really depends on the day and the mood I'm in because I, for a while, I wasn't really a studier. Like I couldn't go for long hours, and a lot of my peers could do that. Then I realized I don't do long hours. Like I can't do long hours when I study. But I I looked up different techniques, and I know that acting like you're teaching helps, and I do that sometimes because it makes the situation a lot more fun. It makes that a lot more fun because studying is usually very boring, and I need to be stimulated to want to continue to do something. So sometimes music is helpful. But if it's a situation where I feel like I'm highly focused and I can do this, I don't need music or the topic is interesting enough. But if I feel like it's not interesting or anything, I think creating a fun environment is the reason why I'm more motivated to do it. So that's why I think that helps. I also think active recall is my best friend. I think it's been scientifically proven to work the best
Mhm.
for everyone. And you mentioned different apps like quizzes and Anki, and I know Anki has like an algorithm that's supposed to help you with your forgetting curve because a lot of us do forget things.
Spell that. I don't think I know that last one.
ANKI. A lot of medical students use it. So that's why because they study bulks of information and they're able to put it in the flashcards, and over a course of months, they keep getting updates. So like 1 week. So if you answer a question, you say, oh, I don't really understand, or you don't remember, in 4 days, they'll ask you it again, or in a day, or in 2 minutes, because it's their they have an algorithm set to help your forgetting curve. So I think that's what a lot of people like the app. I started using it, but haven't been very consistent. But I need to get consistent because I have CAPE. So that's that's the goal. Uh, that's that's essentially it. I think I have an idea. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that active recall has, especially blurt, is another thing. Your if you know, just take a paper and write down everything you know, and usually you find yourself retrieving information from your brain, so you work harder and you're engaging your like a lot more than passively studying or reading through the book. So if you're reading through the book and passively studying, you might realize, unless you're gifted, but you might not remember everything, or the information leaves you after you're done with the test. But if you're actively trying to retrieve the information like you were in a test, it's easier for you to perform better on the test. So I think that's important. I also believe that my mindset is important. So I wanted to ask you how important you think mindset is when it comes to studying, or if it plays a real role.
And I'm glad you threw in that point about mindset because it's very important, right? That idea of whether it's important to you, is this an activity that you think is going to be helpful? You can see the potential. Also appreciating that you can improve. That's your growth mindset as well. So studying only works if you think it's actually going to help you. If you think that you are actually going to remember this information, you're going to improve, you're going to do well. So definitely having the right mindset makes such a difference. Nice. Thank you for sharing all of that.
You're welcome.
Indeed, indeed.
About that app, Anki.
It's really good.
Anki,
I've heard.
yes, I think Shantia had also put it in the chat as well. ANKI. All right. Thanks, Shantia. All right. So I think, Saray, you're the next question, or it was me? I think it was you.
You are the next question.
Okay. Oh, there. Because we had touched on the question, how do we know which studies, which approaches to study work for me? Yeah, we touched on that one. All right, great. And guess what? Mindset. You see how Saray had introduced it. You know what are some of the things that you think hurt our mindset towards study, Lisa? Because I feel like mindset for a lot of students are they're having the right mindset is half the battle.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and I'd love to know, what tips can you offer to someone who's struggling with having the right mindset, when it comes to, really doing what needs to be done to study more effectively?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think, by nature, children tend to be very hopeful and optimistic by nature. And you find that a student who is not interested in studying, not motivated to study, has experienced some kind of discouragement somewhere along the way. Their confidence level is probably quite low. They probably haven't had a lot of experience with feeling successful. And so they tend to kind of feel like, well, why bother? What's the point? That I think is one factor. I also do believe that it takes a great deal of resilience as well. So knowing that if you want to improve, it's going to take work, you can push through, you have to think that it's important. So also seeing the value in it makes a difference. I think for students who believe that things have to happen, that if improvement happens, it must be easy and it has to work with what's convenient, and I don't have to really make that much of a sacrifice, that's going to affect whether you think you need to make time to study or not. So I see that a lot. I see that sense of it's just not important and there are other things I'd rather do. Or I just see kids who feel like it's just not going to help them. They're not going to improve if they don't because they're just very demotivated. And that could be the result of many things. Generally speaking, what I tell kids, and I'm actually just going to bring up my list. Where's my list? I think there are a number of things that you can do to help to get you motivated to study. I don't have my list in this packet, but I think environment makes a difference. I think if you organize your space and fix it up and make it feel comfortable, you have your little bulletin board, you have your little cute supplies, you have your snacks, you have a comfortable chair, and it's your space, right? And you personalize it. I think that makes a difference. Environment is key. Make sure it's organized and tidy and things are easy to find. I think motivational quotes work for a lot of people because sometimes we just need, like when you're feeling frustrated, you just want to be able to see a quote that you find just gets you going, whether it's, be the change you want to be in the world, or whoever your favorite person is who inspires you, just some word that they've said. I find watching motivational videos. So when I actually run this course, I have a really interesting video that I watch, which showcases children and teenagers who surmounted some very real obstacles in their lives, whether it's illnesses, whether it's taking on the challenge of, swimming the English Channel, just something. I think constantly reminding yourself and going back to the stories of other persons who have had to face great challenges is motivating and will keep you going. If you think of someone that you know really well, and you know that they were motivated and they had to, I mean, very often we have people in our family or we have good friends who we know their story and you figure, okay, if they can do it, so can I. So keeping those stories in mind will motivate you. And also reminding yourself that you have faced many challenges. So reminding yourself, well, wow, when I did the spelling bee in prep school, or when I had to do PEP and I had to sit down and push through that performance task and I found that I actually did ace it after all, or wow, and I was, trying to learn Spanish in first form and I wasn't getting it. But I found that right tutor to work with and I finally got my A. So just reminding yourself that you have overcome obstacles yourself. All right, I think those are the key things. I think it's, again, and I'll just review them. Have a really good, motivating study environment, personalize it, fix it up, make it inspiring for yourself, put up quotes. Always have quotes from your favorite people, people you think are inspiring themselves. Think about the stories of others who have overcome challenges. Think about when you have overcome challenges, because we all do that in some form or fashion, and use that to motivate you for the next one.
I think that I agree with a lot of what that is, and thank you for sharing that as well, because speaking from experience, I used to be one of the people that were very this is a common immaculate girl experience. When you are usually in prep or primary school, you're used to being one of the top in your class, right? So you're one of the top in your class, and then you get to immaculate, and everybody was not the top in your class. So then you realize you're no longer the top of your class. And then it can be, and some girls, I've met some really brilliant girls, especially academics. So that could get to someone, and I think it did get to me after a while. I kind of just subconsciously, it didn't, in the moment I wasn't thinking like that, but I think subconsciously it did get to me, and I got comfortable, and I really lost what kept me through prep school was that I was a high performing student. And I think after a while, what happened with me, I found the value again, because college is coming up and I'm doing subjects that I like. I'm also, since I'm in sixth form, I'm surrounded by very motivated people. So I really don't have a choice, like at the same time.
Yeah.
And I started putting more value in my grades and stuff. I also don't want to say that all your work is actually great, but putting value in my grades and doing a lot, it makes me want to study and therefore have a goal in mind. And I remind myself that I can do it when I get a good grade on the test. And when someone says, "Oh, you did good answering a question today," or a teacher claps you or something like that, just little indicators that you're doing well and you can keep going. I think it's important for you to keep doing well and keep going, because every single time, if you keep getting very low grades and everybody doesn't look at you as the smart person, you're gonna start believing that. That's literally that's a theory in sociology. I'm a sociology student, and you start acting as such. But if it's called a label theory, but if not, it's. But I think I also believe in mindset. So if I say that I can get out of this and I want this, no matter who there is, that not who there is, but more, I don't want to have to compare myself to the people around me, because I'm in my own lane and I still want to do well, and I want to do well for me and not compare myself to people that probably don't have to study as much as I have to study to get the good grade, or vice versa. It doesn't, like any. So I think that's incredibly important. So I wanted to share my insights on that. And thank you for answering that question. And we have the final gem.
Actually, before you say that, so you made a very interesting point, and I think it's worth just reinforcing. You have to find your source of inspiration intrinsically for whatever it is that you're pursuing, which is why I started with that idea of, well, what's your goal? Because if you spend your time comparing yourself to other people and using that as your motivation to do well, you'll do well to a point, but there's always going to be someone who's better than you. And that can't be your only driving force. You have to be your competitor. You have to always be going, okay, so I need to do better than I did the last time.
Yes.
You have to know that you're pushing yourself because there is something else. You're trying to be the best version of yourself at any given point in time, right? And if you can use that perspective, then you're not as liable to become demotivated, discouraged, to lose your confidence just because other people are doing better than you are. You're able to kind of just focus on your race and plod your little course bit by bit, and it makes it easier to stub your toe, fall, and get back up. If you're busy competing with someone else, when you fail, because you will fail,
Yes.
you are going to fail at something. You're going to be the A student here, and you're going to move into another environment and find, wow, I'm not the A student anymore. And if you can determine that the marker that you're using is to constantly improve on where you were the last time, then you're more likely to find the energy to stay motivated. So I'm glad you pointed that out, that idea of where is your motivation coming from.
I agree with that. And also, like, comparing just when you're in your own lane. And I started to realize how a lot of us are very different people, because I'm not, well, I don't want to keep saying this. I'm trying to come up with this mindset, but math and me aren't the best of friends. I am more of a humanities person, etc. Like, I love that and the literature, arts, that whole thing. But I want to be good at math so bad.
Yeah.
But I've never had a very affirming experience. Math has always been my enemy, and I'm trying to fix that because I think it's cool that you're good at, if you're good at math. But I think I also think I start comparing myself to people that that have been good at math all their life. Like, their mom probably a math teacher, right? So, and they've been helping them with math. Or you have these people that probably have an insane vocabulary, and then you realize their mom's an English lecturer and they've been forcing them to read every single day of their life, and you aren't like that. And then I think you have to really be comfortable in who you are and what you're good at. And then if you find the things that you're good at or believe that you have potential in, you'll find that in your academics. Like, you find the motivation to keep going in that area because you think, I can be good at this too. It's not impossible. Like, you might think it's impossible, and yes, you can keep going. They're still gonna be better than you. That's fine. But you're still good. And I think sixth form has taught me that a lot, and that's why I'm really valuing these past couple months, because I've learned to compare myself with myself and not the girls around me. Because if I did that, it would not be good.
Exactly. And you made a good point. If you know what your strengths are, and this is why when I'm even working with students to try and figure out what their ideal study schedule is, we always kind of start with what you do. Like, what are your activities? Because if you are excelling in some area, that's going to build your confidence, and that confidence level carries over into everything else. That balance is important. If you are struggling academically, the last thing you want to do is give up your favorite sport, or give up dancing, or give up playing piano, if that is what brings you joy and adds some spark to your life. Because if you are excelling in that area, then the skill set that you're using to do well, the focus, the discipline that you have to develop to do well in that particular art form or sport, will carry over. You'll feel good about yourself, so you're going to want to work on your academics. The same skills and the same brain synapses and connections that you're making will actually carry over and help you to do well in your studies as well. So it's good you need a balance. And I tell kids, when you're creating your schedule, create your schedule keeping in mind the things that you enjoy doing, the things that make you feel alive, because that's going to give you the energy to push through the things that are not interesting.
That's true. I agree, because when I don't work well on schedules. That's one thing that I know about myself. I'm very I like freedom a lot of the time. So I kind of know that rigidity is not my friend. I don't like when things are extremely rigid. But at the same time, I do appreciate structure. So that it's not my favorite if it's too on the ball, but structure in the sense where I'm going to come home, I'm going to study today, and go home and study, but not what I'm going to study and how long I'm going to study. But I know that I'm going to study. And I think that works better for me because it prevents guilt or even just being on schedule, not reaching its exact time. Schedules feel very pressuring for me, but I know people that thrive in being on a schedule. So I think that's why I keep going back to the point, just not to compare yourself, because it's not a problem that you don't thrive under this. You have to find what you do thrive under, because we're all people. And so their capabilities, your capabilities, we have different ones, but we're all capable. And I think that's important. Like, we have different levels of capabilities, but at the end of the day, we're all very capable. We're capable. And I think having that mindset is very important.
There's one caveat. I'm going to put like a side note on something that you said, which is it's good to know what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're starting out, structure is important. Because, and I'm going to use a math analogy since since I know how excited math makes you, right? So I want you to, I know, I want you to imagine when you're learning algebra, right? You have to learn the basics. You start with one-step equations, then you go into your two-step, then you go into multi-step, and then you're going to go into algebraic fractions, and then that extends into a range of other areas. Now, the reason why you start with one-step equations is because it builds a foundation, so that when you get to dealing with, let's even say trig identities, because you use aspects of solving equations in trig identities. You can't do that. You can't figure out all of those different variations if you don't know the basics of algebra, right? If you have a really good number sense, then you're able to, if you know that the different names for a number, 4 can be 2 times 2, it can be 4 over 1, it can be half of 8. If you can manipulate numbers in that way, when you get to way more complex concepts, the same thing comes back in just a more advanced fashion. But you're able to work through math at a level where it's really all about solving puzzles and seeing patterns to things, right? It's the same thing with studying. You're at a stage where you get that because you're in the middle of CAPE, you've been doing this for years, you know what works for you. But I would then say to a first former or a second former who's just trying to get organized, then yes, set up a schedule and practice that routine for 2 or 3 years until you figure out, what works for me. Maybe I don't really need to review science concepts every week. As Auntie Lisa said, maybe I need to do it every 2 weeks based on what my schedule looks like. So always kind of good. It's why you start with a framework. Start with a framework if it's not something that you're good at yet. And then you can maneuver and be flexible and figure things out as you go along.
I agree. And I also think that that's important, and that, I just kind of figured this out now. I just recently. So no matter where you are in your high school career or college career or PhD career, whatever career, academic career, like, you can start and grow, because I'm still trying to find my footing and I'm open to learn more because I want to continue to improve. So thank you.
Always room. I mean, you guys taught me about Anki. Like, I didn't even know about it. So there's always room to tweak and grow and shift. We just want to make sure that you start.
Yes.
Start. Give yourself a structure, practice that, and then tweak as you go along.
I agree. So
I'd love to. I'm sorry. I know that. I know that.
The evening.
Huh?
I was gonna move on to the last question.
I know, but you know what? I have been sitting in the background, kind of listening to the kind of organic discussion that you guys have been having, and I didn't want to move to the last question because I think there is a great way if we could take a pause before the last question and just kind of put together probably what could be kind of like a cheat sheet or summary sheet of what we've been discussing so far, because I know people have been joining in. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining. Again, this session is being recorded. So if you missed anything, don't worry, it's going to be recorded and it's going to be hosted right here on the ICHS Alumni 876 YouTube channel. So you can watch, share, and if there's anybody else who needs to join, they can still join because we'll be here for a little bit longer. But I thought it would be good to just kind of pause and summarize. So for anybody who is listening and they've come on to watch this conversation and their issue is like, look, I think I got some study issues. I really want to know how I can be more effective at studying. Let's outline that cheat sheet for them to get on a better path to doing so. So the number one thing you would recommend, Lisa, what would you say is the first thing they need to assess?
Your mindset. So
Mindset.
make sure you're open to this process. Make sure you realize that this is something that's going to benefit you, and you know that you're in a space where you're open to continuing to improve. So mindset is very important. Set up your study space. So you want to make sure that you have somewhere that's designated for this type of work. You know that once you sit in that chair at that desk, this is all about getting work done, right? Give yourself that kind of room. And even if it's a shared space, then you want to have like a little caddy or something that you carry with you when you put there with all your supplies, and maybe a little, folder with some motivational quotes. So if it's not your own space in your room, you can create space if it's a shared space with other siblings in the dining area, right? There's still ways to do that. So set up your study space. You want a study schedule. So you want to look at what your everyday schedule looks like, at a nice big monthly calendar. Fill in the days that you have your activities, right? And so you will see and know what your pockets of free time are. And you want to slot in, and this is outside of homework and working on projects. You want to set up a 10 to 15 minute window each week for each subject. So there should be that one time every week where you study English literature. One time every week where you review your history notes. So let's say Mondays, we're going to look at all the history notes you've done between 2 and 2:15. And on a Tuesday, we're going to review math. On a Wednesday, you're going to review French. On a Thursday, you're going to review English language. And on a Friday, you're going to do integrated studies, right? So you pick your core subjects, right? So set up your schedule and then slot in your time. So if you know you don't finish football practice, and by the time you sit in traffic, have dinner, get home, you're not going to start till 7, then you slot in a 7 to 7:15 window for that subject that you're reviewing that day, right? And I'll tell you why it's 15 minutes, because this is all you're going to do. You're going to have your little index cards. And when you sit down on Friday to review, you're going to look back at everything you did in that subject for that week and just pick out the core points that you covered. We're not rewriting notes. We don't want the whole textbook. If you covered 3 topics, you're going to write down those topics, the keywords and definitions that go with those topics. Right?
Sorry, Lisa. I'm sorry. Sorry, you had a question?
No, I was just
you're just working it through in your head. Okay. Okay, because I thought you was like, hold up a minute.
Is create a cheat sheet and send it to Carrie, and she can stick it. She can pin it in the comments as well.
Sure.
But the idea is that you want something manageable. So whatever, let's say you covered, I'm just thinking of a topic. Let's say you were doing nouns this week and you talked about the difference between a common noun and a proper noun. So you're going to write those 2 terms on an index card, define them, give 2 examples. That's week 1. Done, finish. That was 5 minutes. Next week, when you go back to study English, the teacher went on to verbs. So you're going to go, oh, this is a verb. And verbs can have a present, a past, and a future tense. And maybe you give an example of each. Right? You take the verb run and you put the present, the past, and the future, and maybe a sentence. So you're going to make your notes what you did. Actually, you're going to review week 1 first. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, what was a noun? Review nouns. Then make your notes on verbs. When you go next week and the teacher has decided to do adjectives, next week you're going to sit and go, all right, let me read through nouns again Let me read through verbs on my week 2 card, and then I'm going to make my notes for week 3. So you're constantly going back and then building. And so if you're doing that once a week per subject, by the time you get to exams, there is no cramming because you would have gone back. And remember, we're thinking about the brain like a pathway through a field. You have to keep revisiting the information to keep that pathway, or the brain gets rid of that path, right? It sheds it. It goes, oh, you're not using this information, done. This memory is gone. We don't need to keep this connection. Right? So you literally do that. Week 4, you read over week 1, week 2, week 3, make the new card. All right? So let's recap. You need to get in gear. You need the right mindset. You need to believe this is going to work. You're going to set up your study space, set up your study schedule, and practice. So you actually have to do the study schedule. You have to try it for a good 6-7 weeks. Tweak it as you go along. If you go, oh my gosh, this Monday session is not working because, man, the math teacher is always giving me too much work to do on a Monday. Let me switch what I do on a Monday to Sunday afternoon. So the goal is to just keep refining it as you go along. And then, of course, that's different from, and you have to be flexible, right? There's going to be a week where maybe you can't stick to because you have too much homework or you have too many exams. Exam techniques are a whole other discussion that we could have. But the idea is that if you're practicing this, keep your index cards, either do it digitally. I like paper because there's a lot of research as well that shows that when you're actually writing, it reinforces long-term memory better than when you're typing. So I actually prefer if you're doing it on index cards, and then you can create your quizzes for your test and your exam review at some point using your app software. You decide, you will know what works. But that's my cheat sheet. I think if you do those key things, you're off to a good start.
Awesome. And I may just take you up on that future episode of Mac Girl Magic Live where we're going to talk about exam taking techniques.
Nobody wants to do that. But I mean, that's different, right? It really is different. It really is a different thing.
Yeah. Some people do really well with this study thing, but they go into exams and it's like, you know, it's like.
And there are different types of exams and just different ways of prepping for each one.
Yeah. Bye, Gay. So I appreciate the cheat sheet, Lisa, because as I said, you know, when you touch on different points, it's good to kind of summarize. And again, guys, this session is being recorded. So if you miss anything at all, you can come back and watch and share it with your friends, your classmates, your schoolmates. It's really good information. So I'm no longer gonna stand in Saray's way because she was burning to ask the final jam question. So go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so of all the things you would have shared, Lisa, what is the key gem and or work encouragement that you'd like to leave with all of the students watching today?
Begin with the end in mind. That's my gem.
I love that.
You have to know where you want to end up. And if you know where you want to end up, then it gives you an idea of what you need to do now. So you know what you want to achieve? All right, well, if part of that is trying to do well in your academics, then you know that you need to get yourself more organized, or you know that you need to get yourself that little extra help from math if you need it, or you know that there's a type of school that you want to get into, so maybe that's going to affect the courses that you choose. But your mindset, so knowing where you want to go and having the type of mindset that says that goal is possible is going to make the difference. If you don't think it's possible, if you don't think you can achieve it, it doesn't really matter that you have that dream. It's not going to happen. You have to believe that it's possible. You have to have a goal. You need to have a goal because life is hard. And when life knocks you down, you want to be able to look ahead and go, all right, there's still something I'm working towards. It's going to give you the momentum to keep moving forward. Some mindset. Begin with the end in mind and just go for it.
So everyone heard it here first. Begin in mind when you're going to study. And passing it back to you, Carrie-Ann.
Sari, I would love to hear from you a little bit more. First of all, I really have to big up Sari. I mean, she volunteered when we were looking for a co-host. She volunteered with probably days to spare before this live stream. So I really appreciate it, Sari. Thank you so much for being the willing victim. I'm kidding.
And she did a great job. She did a very
No, trust me. I'm just saying, let me take myself off of this camera and let Sari go at it with Lisa. I'm just saying. Awesome. But you know what, Sari, because you're in grade 12, right? So you would have just, well, not just, but, not too long ago come off of CSEC, the back of CSEC, because it's not too long ago, although it may have felt like a lifetime ago. But obviously, you're doing your thing. You're doing well. I mean, as a student now yourself, what would you say have been your kind of secret sauces, if you have more than one sauce, or secret sauce that has helped you to get as far as you've gotten at a great school like Immaculate? Let's just keep it real. The fact that you're still a student here is something to celebrate. And what would you say has been your secret sauces in terms of how successful you've been at studying to get to where you are now?
Can I just say that CSEC was not fun for me? So
Okay.
it was horrible. So that's the first thing I'd like to say. So I feel like I can't speak about CSEC because I would not have many positive things to say. If I'm being completely honest, like it was not the best time. And I also felt like my study methods would have been a lot better. It was very overwhelming, and with the pandemic and going back to school and then having the exam, I know that it could have been a much smoother process. But I think I can give a better answer with using grade 12. I think having a goal, and that's the first thing, because when I came to this year, I was like, I'm gonna get an A average. And I was like, I want it. And I just really wanted it. So I don't know. I feel like when I really want something, no one's gonna give it to me but me. So I kind of have to do what I have to do. That's the first thing. And then being around people that I'm around. So environment definitely plays a key role. I want to preface that. But I think first thing is engaging with your teachers, like chat, in the way where you're trying to understand the topic. If I'm not a person that goes to the back and observe things, I will space out. You will lose me. I think I have to be talking to the teacher, sharing my insight, asking questions. You should not feel stupid to ask questions. I've said this to people before, that everybody that's looking at you for asking the question thinking you're stupid, they know the answer. So when they go in the exam, they're not gonna have a problem. But you don't know the answer. So you don't want to go into the exam and not know the answer. So I really think you should ask. Like, embarrassment, why are you embarrassed? You're at school, you're here to learn. You need to ask the question, because you're the one that's gonna feel it. Because you never asked the question. You should have asked about this, but I was too busy being all up in my head. And after you ask the question, no one really cares. And someone probably was hoping that someone would ask the question, but they were feeling anxious about it. So you probably just saved somebody right there. So I think you should ask the questions. Also, do the work that they tell you to do. Like, don't be like, oh, it doesn't matter, because I've been there. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. But it does, because it does build up. Like, it does build up. All the work builds up. And then it's just helping you regurgitate the information, I feel like. And yes, I think making sure your environment is as nice as possible. So apart from academics, you don't need to be in any problems with anybody to make your classroom space very toxic. You don't want that. Having hostile relationship with your teacher, you don't want it either. You don't want to have a hostile relationship with your teacher. Your teacher's supposed to teach you. So having fairly good relationship with your teacher also helps. So you feel more comfortable sharing and asking questions. And I think blurting works the best for study methods. I don't use it all the time because it's very blurting is
Yes, blurting en inglés, por favor.
blurting is when you just write everything that you know on a specific topic without like looking back at the book, and then when you're done you go and fill in the gaps. This is very
Call that a brain dump. Okay.
yes, but I call it blurting. So well, I don't call it blurting, it was coined by someone else, but I do that, but I don't do it often because it's very mentally strenuous. I think like you're sitting there and you're trying to write out the entire topic that you know, like, and you have to be very disciplined. I want to write out the entire topic that I know from my head. And if you're itching and butting, you don't have topic, so you need to go and you need to read over. And I think it kind of helps you to get to know where you are. So what I'd say, have a goal in mind, focus on the system. Be scared to ask the question because it's you at the end of the day that matters, and make sure your space is hostile, your environment, your learning environment is hostile, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Well, CSEC, I understand you're saying that CSEC was challenging, but you clearly made it through, right? So you're in 12th grade, so
Yes, we're just started.
yeah.
But
yeah,
Cape won't be that way.
No,
I'm
it won't.
out
We
there.
are declaring it. It's not going to be that way. Great. I mean, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. So we've given our cheat sheet, or Lisa's given her cheat sheet, the summary sheet, and she's also shared with us her final gem, which is, start with the end in mind. We need to start with a goal. We actually, just to recap too, we had our first episode of Mac Girl Magic Live. We had done a session with Simone Clark Cooper talking about just that, goal setting. And then here we are now talking about how to study smarter, not harder. Hey, Thornia from Franciscan in the house. It's not Rose of Lima, but it's okay. It's an Immaculate Conception High School Live, so we're all Mac girls, so we're all awesome. But Rose of Lima still kind of shot it still. But hey, Thornia, thanks for joining. Yeah, this topic never gets old, right? Because it's just a fact of life. It's a part of life. We all have to do it, and it's just how can we do it best. So, guys, if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. Again, just to recap, this session has been recorded and it's going to be hosted here on the ICHS Alumni 876 YouTube channel. So if you missed anything at all, or you want to kind of go on, watch it on the replay, do that. You can share it with your friend, colleague, classmate. Hey, even if they don't come to Immaculate, even if they're not female, go ahead, send it along to them. This is still valuable information. So feel free to do that. If you're not subscribed to the ICHS Alumni 876 YouTube channel, now is a good time to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Yeah, we don't post a lot of content, so we're not going to be blowing up your phone with alerts, but it's a great thing to do because it means that when next we come with another video, or certainly with another Mac Girl Magic Live, you will be notified and you'll get to join into the conversation and learn some great stuff to help you navigate being a student at the awesome Immaculate Conception High School and hey, beyond, right? So guys, I want to thank you so much. First of all, I have to thank again our awesome featured guest, Lisa McLean, ICHS alum with the awesomeness, educator, author. Lisa, how can we find you? Tell us how we can find you, how we can support you, how we can connect with you. You said you have a study skills workshop. Give us the lowdown, please.
The easiest way, if you look at my gosh, beside my name, that's my website. I am lisamclean.com. It's probably the easiest thing to do. Even though it is my website for my publications, if you actually send me a message there, I'll get it. So if you are interested in our study skills workshops, which I do offer for grades 4 to 6 and for high schoolers, let me know. And I try to do it at the beginning of each term. And we have a range of programs that we offer through the tutoring center that I manage. So even during the summer, we have a lot of really interesting programs. You know, we have a workshop for students in grade 6 moving up to high school, so kind of reviewing some of or informing them of some of the skill sets that they'll need to navigate that transition, because it is two totally different worlds. We have an entrepreneurship workshop that we run. We have a book club that we run. Like, we have a whole lot of programs in addition to just regular tutoring support. So I think my website is probably easiest, and you can just send me a message and I'll be able to respond.
I'm muted again and I'm chatting away. Okay. So Saray is like, Carrie needs help. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lisa. Much appreciated. So give us a URL for that website again, please.
I am lisamclean.com.
I am Lisa McLean, IAMLISA, as in Lisa, and McLean, MCLEAN.com. And there you can connect with Lisa and get some great information about how to level up, how to do better, how to get this studying thing and just blow up the place. Some of us blowing it up already, but hey, there's always room to grow and always room to do better. Thanks so much. I love the people in the chat who are cheering us on. Saray has her little fan club going on. Jade was bigging up Saray earlier. Hey, Jade, thanks so much. Glad you enjoyed the discussion. Thanks, Jasmine.
Thank
Much
you, Jasmine.
appreciated. Oh, I just love the friends supporting friends. It's just wonderful. Yeah, man, we have to big up one another, people. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Trust me. Them say woman love tear down one another. But ladies, we just have to support each other. Life is hard. Everybody going through their stuff. Don't look at somebody and think say everything cook and curry for them, because trust me, everybody is going through their stuff. Hey Thornia, thanks again for joining. Much appreciated. Thanks, Karen. So many people dropped hellos in the chat. And of course, I have to big up my wonderful co-host, Saray, Miss Immaculate. What year is it? 2023.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
So
Well done.
yes, Saray is the new Miss Immaculate 2023. Yes, Rose of Lima is still the best, Karen. We know we're not tearing down. We're just acknowledging. Saray is like now. Yeah, but Saray is the new Miss Immaculate, and thank you so much again, Saray, for volunteering. And we will be having more episodes of Magic Live, ladies. So please subscribe to the ICHS Alumni 876 YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time we are set to go live, and we do go live. For watch past episodes, rewatch episodes on the replay. We really appreciate it. And yes, Jasmine, Saray is our Miss Immaculate. And we look forward to engaging with you. And guys, if you have any topics you want us to discuss, let us know. Drop it in the comments on the channel. If you don't know where to find anybody, just leave a comment in the channel underneath this video or the previous video. Let us know what topics would be interesting to you, because hey, we have lots of resources, as with due respect, as the top girls school in Jamaica. Just saying, we have a wonderful network of alumni who are experts in their field and are willing to come on and share some great nuggets and gems with you guys. So let us know what other topics you want us to discuss in the future, and we'll do our best to make it happen. And yes, Elle is like, college, please, college, help. Yes, okay, Elle, I hear you. Tell us what about college you want to discuss and share. Let us know. And we'll be happy to do our best to bring that to you. So without further ado, thank you again, ladies. Thank you to everybody watching. Have a wonderful rest of the, now it's evening, but have a wonderful rest of the day. And everybody take care, and wishing you a successful rest of the school year. All right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.